On this video, we are going to go over an exemplar essay that I wrote to give you an example of what is it that I wanted you to do on your essay. We're going to primarily focus on explanations and also providing context for the reader so they can get a better understanding of what Hajj is and what are some of the issues facing people during Hajj. So if you have not read the essay that I wrote, please stop this video and please go back and read it. You're more than welcome to annotate it. You should have a copy of it, and then come back and restart this video. So you should have read the essay. I'm gonna have questions embedded in the video. The first question is, how many sources did I use? How many sources did I use in the essay? Another question will be, did I use the same source twice? Did I use the same source twice, right? To go back, I did use two sources, but are they the same source? I was required to use two different sources, okay? That's a big one, because if you are asked to use two different sources and you use one source only one source, your evidence automatically goes to about an S, okay? So one of the biggest issues that I saw, or biggest areas of growth, was providing a hook, okay? So a hook is something that grabs the reader's attention, right? A lot of times it can be a question. A lot of times it can be like a statement. It can be a number, a statistic. But it's supposed to engage the reader, right? If you have a question, for a hook, that question should be answered in a way in your essay. So here's my hook. My hook says, how can something good still leave a bad taste in your mouth, right? That is kind of like a metaphor, or it makes the reader think, how can something good still leave a bad taste in your mouth? So this is my hook. It's just a question. It's a question that makes the reader think, right? I avoid something like, do you know what Hajj is? Because most people don't know what Hajj is, right? And if your question is too vague or too confusing, you lose the reader, okay? So that is my hook. And then I'm gonna jump into my overview. But you'll see that my overview also includes my own ideas, my own connections, okay? Most religions have some sort of religious pilgrimage that its believers take. So here I'm including some background information that I know. Christians visit Rome and Jerusalem. Jews visit Jerusalem. The city of Amritsar, location of the Golden Temple, is one of the most important for Sikhs. I might have mispronounced that, I apologize. Religious pilgrimages bring believers close to their God or gods and other believers. Religious pilgrimages renew the long-held spiritual beliefs of believers. One such pilgrimage. So here I gave you guys a lot of my kind of like some background information that I know. Kind of like introducing the reader to what I'm going to be talking about, right? Which is going to be a location. Here I just didn't jump into Hajj. I provided some context. And then here I continue my overview. One such religious pilgrimage is Hajj. Hajj is a multi-day pilgrimage that Muslims, believers of Islam, take at least once in their lifetime. Every year, over 2 million Muslims from all over the world descend into the holy city of Mecca. There, over the course of several days, Muslims take part in several rituals. So that's my overview, okay? Hajj is a spiritual, physical, and emotional journey. Still, overview. Societal issues that affect the world are still present here. Here I start beginning to introduce my thesis statements, okay? Because here I'm gonna start focusing on what are some of the issues facing people during Hajj. Societal or issues in society that affect the world are still present here, right? So that's kind of like part of my claim or thesis statement. After analyzing the sources, And here I have my thesis statements. It is clear that social inequality exists during Hajj because people are treated differently based on what they look like or what gender they are. So here I have my thesis statements. And you see my thesis statement is made up of pretty much two things, two reasons, based on what they look like and what gender they are. Those are my reasons, how people are treated differently. Okay, so this is my introductory paragraph where I have my hook, my overview, and my thesis statements. If you don't have a thesis statement, your essay falls apart completely because I don't know what you're answering. Okay, I did see that in some of your writings. So that's my intro. Then I'm going to go into my first paragraph. My first paragraph is going to focus on, I'm sorry, my second paragraph. This is paragraph 1. Let me erase that. This is paragraph 1. And this is paragraph 2. Okay? So here I'm going to jump into my first reason. Social inequities exist during Hajj. So here I restated my thesis statement. Right? I didn't include my reason yet because you'll see how I set this up. Social inequalities exist during Hajj. During Hajj, everyone wears white. So here I'm giving you a little more context as well. During Hajj, everyone wears white to represent equality. But as a famous quote from the book Animal Farm once, I should have capitalized this because it's a book, the title of a book. I shouldn't have capitalized the B. This should be I'll just fix this out. This should be a B, and this should be Animal Farm. Once stated, all animals are equal, except some are more equal than others. If you have not read that book, I highly recommend it. It's a really good book. But here I'm giving you more context, a little bit of context of what I'm going to focus on in a second. It is evident that not everyone is treated equally during Hajj, right? Here I could have done a better job and focus on what reason am I going to talk about? What reason am I going to talk about? Okay. And here it looks like it's talking about gender. Okay. And source B, so here's my source. It states, circumambulation, it's like going around, was forbidden for women who began menstruating after Hajj. And then you also can do this. Sometimes you have a piece of evidence and you have another piece of evidence in a different part of the source. You can just do ... and then include that as evidence. They have been taught that they were impure. So that's my evidence. When I include my evidence, I want you to do this, right? I want you to include the, not these brackets, but the quotes. You see how I included quotes? Those little quotes, right? I would like you to do that. So that's my evidence. The Kaaba and the rituals of going around it 7 times during Hajj is one of the most important. So here's my thesis with reason. Thesis. Here's my evidence. And then I'm going to talk about my explanation. Explanation is the biggest area of growth for us, because a lot of students will say, this shows that inequality exists during Hajj. You can't say that. You actually have to tell us how inequality exists. So look at the example that I have. There should be a period here. The Kaaba and the ritual of going around it 7 times during Hajj is one of the most important rituals for Muslims to perform during the trip. A trip that should bring peace and connection to God, bring shame to women who are seen as unclean. This exclusion only affects women. At any given time, thousands or even tens of thousands of women could be excluded from participating in this ritual. Inequality implies being treated differently in an unfair way. Women do not select to have their period. It is a natural phenomenon, and they cannot naturally control it. And then I restated my thesis again. Social inequality exists during Hajj because women are treated differently. Here I can even say, because women are treated differently. Okay, I could have included that here. Okay, so you see, even though I spent I spent some time writing this, I can always go back and make it better. You see how I included this here? And that can also go here. And then we have, this is paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and then we have paragraph 3. I have a transition word here. You should also have a transition word. In addition, social inequality is evident during Hajj because people are treated differently based on race. So here I did a better job of actually focusing on the reason. Here I didn't do such a good job because I didn't focus on the reason. Here I did. And then I have source A. On your essay that you received back, I circled your sources to make sure that you use a different source. This is source B, and this is source A. In source A, Fidelma states, I had some women in my group and some strangers ask what it's like to be a Muslim, and asked me, are you a Muslim? In the same source, so here I have 2 pieces of evidence. I have my first evidence, and then I have another piece of evidence, because I found another evidence that added to my argument, added to my proof that social inequality exists. In the same source, it states, it seemed to Khalil he wasn't being treated the same as other African pilgrims because he is black. And then I have my explanation. Here, this is my whole explanation. I didn't just say, this shows that there's social inequality during Hajj, or this proves, right? I actually prove it myself. I tried to prove it. Here's my explanation. It starts here and ends here. The world that we live in is filled with social inequality. Even in a place like Mecca, where Muslims must be in a state of ihram, social inequality and prejudice still exists. Even during Hajj, Khalil is discriminated against because of the shade of his skin color. Fidelma is on the other extreme. Fidelma is singled out because of her light complexion. As humans, we tend to categorize people. We put people in different buckets. We rationalize how we treat people based on these categorizations. Fidelma and Khalil don't fit these categorizations. Therefore, they are singled out. This is just but a few examples of people being treated differently during Hajj. During Hajj, everyone wears white to signify equality in the eye of God. But inequality is deeply embedded in humanity, and it shows even during this religious trip. I think I could have done a better job here, okay? But I attempted to explain how does this prove that there's social inequality. And then we have our conclusion. And this has been a bit of a struggle. Your conclusion should have your claim, your thesis statements, overview, and what is it that you want the reader to understand or to get out of your essay. Hajj is a religious trip that Muslims who can participate must take at least once in their lifetime. So this is kind of like my overview again, right? It is clear that Hajj is a deeply spiritual trip to those who participate. Muslims come closer to their faith and God during this trip. Muslims recreate, so I'm still doing overview. Muslims recreate the rituals connected to Abraham and Muhammad. It is also evident, here's my thesis statement again. It is also evident that social inequality is still present during this pilgrimage. And then I have, what is it that I want people to get out of my essay? People must become educated in Hajj. People should contemplate the significance and impact of Hajj. People should also understand the issues that people face. I use the word people too many times here, that humans face during this time, okay? So did I use 2 sources? Yes. Do I have 2 pieces of relevant evidence? Yes. Did I explain my evidence? Yes, right? Do I have a clear thesis statement? Yes. Do I have 2 reasons? Yes. This is what I want you to work on, okay? You have an essay coming up on the Inca, and you're more than welcome to look over this essay to give you an idea of what is it that I expect you to produce, because it will be graded, okay? I believe in all of you. Be amazing, be incredible.